I'm going to get that going.
Sorry, I was late.
That's okay. Thank you.
We're really glad to have you. Your quorum.
Okay, so Catherine, you may go ahead now.
Thank you. Okay, thanks everybody for joining the meeting. I see we have a really big group with us. That's pretty great. We will start our meeting with presentations. In fact, it looks like we have two pretty good presentations coming forward. The first one is the specialized transit passenger portal. This looks pretty interesting. I think, Jason, are you going to take this? You're on mute. There we go.
I think after 2 years, I would have learned by now to unmute myself. So yeah, I'll take kind of the intro, but Julie's going to do the majority of the hard work of the presentation for you. So basically, what we're doing is that what our contractor and the city has been working together to kind of see where we can find improvements on what we have for existing software to kind of align with some of the feedback we've heard from this committee and from some of the public on trying to improve the way that we are making it a little more available to our clients for booking of their trips and canceling of their trips and that type of thing. So we discovered that through some upgrades and a little bit of background work, we can add what's called the passenger portal and it's mainly a website, and Julie will go into more details on what it is specifically and how it works and everything. But it's basically a way for our specialized transit clients to book their trips online. So before we launch, we wanted to present to both this committee and the Seniors Advisory Committee to let them know basically what we're looking to do, give each committee a high level idea of what it's going to look like. And what we're looking for is feedback from the committees on any kind of tips or ideas they may have that maybe we didn't think of that maybe we could look at doing when we finish the final touches as we go to implement. So I'll just share my screen. So I'm going to run the presentation, and then Julie's going to do all the talking. Is everybody able to see this okay?
Yes.
I'll just take it full screen mode. And so Julie is our transit coordinator. She handles a lot to do with all our street furniture around the city, our advertising contracts and that type of thing. But another big part of her job is she's our AODA expert, and she's also handled a lot to do with our specialized transit service for very many years. So take it away, Julie.
Thanks, Jason. We can go ahead to the next slide, please. To schedule our clients' trip bookings, we use Trapeze Pass scheduling software. Through Pass, we also offer an interactive voice response system. The IVR system offers clients an automated telephone self-serve service to confirm and or cancel their upcoming trips. IVR also sends clients automated telephone notifications for upcoming trips. Next slide, please. To further enhance our specialized transit client experience, the city, in collaboration with its contracted service provider, has proposed the addition of a passenger portal. The passenger portal is an online browser which allows clients to use a desktop, tablet, or a mobile phone to manage their trips. Clients will appreciate having more control over their transit experience. By offering them a user-friendly web portal, they will have immediate access to their trip details, personal profiles, and can know when their vehicles will arrive. With the real-time vehicle information, clients can avoid no-shows and late cancellations. As well, the reduced work for booking agents will allow them to put customer service resources toward other areas of our operation. Next slide, please. With a simple login and password from any browser window, including mobile devices, our clients will have the ability to book, review their client profile, confirm, cancel their own trips, as well as view trips visually on a map. Next slide, please. Here is a quick overview of the passenger portal. First, it is important to note that the passenger portal will be customized with our colors and logos to properly identify Barrie's specialized transit service. Once logged into the passenger portal, clients can choose from an action on the menu on the left. As you can see, they chose my trip. They can choose my trips, book a trip, view bulletins, or update their phone number in their profile, etc. In this image, my trips was chosen from the menu. A calendar is displayed by selecting a date. Clients can view all their trips scheduled for that day. Next slide, please. Furthermore, on the day of their trip, by clicking on the details button, clients will have access to a map displaying the location of their bus and the time it is expected to arrive. Next slide, please. Ultimately, by involving our clients with their trip booking process, they are getting better service and a highly personalized experience, which can result in major benefits: fewer no-shows and driver wait times, improved customer satisfaction by reducing on-hold queue times. The online passenger portal will be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Please note, trip booking can still be reserved by telephone up to 1 week in advance. And booking changes, confirmations, and cancellation will still be available through a booking agent. Last slide, please. And thank you. Any questions?
I think it looks great.
I think so too. I really like the idea that you could check your bus where it is.
Mhm.
And because I think that's one of the things that I hear about and hear about from people. And
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. It'll be similar to my ride on conventional transit. They
yeah.
can view their bus coming, and we're going to offer something similar finally to our specialized transit
Great,
clients.
yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah, really
It's
great.
really becoming wow. We used to use the term a long time ago, parallel transport. Right? I don't know if it's still used, but it'll be the same, yeah.
Hello, Heather.
I
apologize for my lateness.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Heather.
I just said I apologize for my lateness. The 400 is to blame.
Yeah. When you say it's proposed, so what's the next step to get the software?
Well, right now they've started to load it, and we're making changes to customize it to our service, wording, how we want some parameters around scheduling and whatnot. So we're doing all the background work right now in order to move forward. That's where we're at right now, doing all the parameter settings.
Not sure who raised their hand first, but we
Counselor
have
Thompson.
Carol.
Counselor
Okay,
Thompson and Carol
Oh, yes.
and Cheryl both have their hands up.
So
both have
we'll
their hands
go
up.
with Counselor Thompson first.
Thanks. I think it's a great presentation, and I had 2 questions, but one was answered. I was wondering if it was like ride sharing, where you could see when your bus was coming and stuff, because that way people aren't waiting out in bad weather. They can time it a little bit better. My second question is, will this be tied to the city's new replacement to Ping Street for the user?
Well, currently we're looking at adding a tab in the new app that would take you directly to the pass portal. So right now, the way the new app is set up, there's a transit linkage that takes you to a number of direct links to certain areas in either My Ride or our city website. So we would be adding a tab in that same area that would say, specialized transit bookings online or something. And then we would bring people right to the pass portal, and there'd probably be another tab that would just take you to specialized transit on the site or something like that. We haven't figured out the wording exactly, but yeah, we're definitely going to add it into the app.
Perfect. Yeah, I think it's so user friendly, and yeah, it's exciting. Thank you.
Yes. Carolyn.
Judy, I have two questions. One is with My Ride Barrie, is it specialized buses or is it regular buses?
So currently the My Ride that you see that we use is for conventional transit. This passenger portal will be dedicated to specialized transit.
Okay, my other question is, Lynx is available through Simcoe County, which is a specialized transport system. How is yours how is this different to the Lynx system?
Lynx Plus, well, they have Lynx, which is their conventional routes, and then Lynx Plus is like our specialized transit. And we actually do offer cross-border trips with Lynx Plus.
So excuse the pun, you're linked up with them.
That's right, we are.
Okay, all right, they were my questions. Thank you.
Great.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Carolyn. Cheryl.
Hi, yes. So I know I've already asked about this independently, Julie and Jason. So accessibility of this online portal is very important. So I'm wondering how you're testing that, like whether the vendor and or you or communications has a plan for how you're testing accessibility of that web portal, and whether or not you're having users with screen reader technology and or other types of adaptive technology testing it, or if it's just going to be one of the developers testing it.
I can answer, Jason.
Perfect.
We're working directly with our corporate communication. Once we've made all the changes that we need for the portal, we will be able to look at everything with them, from fonts, from everything.
That's not what I'm talking about.
And we will also be sending it to you.
Okay, so
for
okay.
review.
Yeah, so that's great. Looking lovely is fantastic, but what I'm talking about is behind, like
Yep.
it needs to actually, like you need to be able to use it with a screen reader, because people who need to use it for accessibility may have vision impairments, or they may have learning disabilities where they require a text to speech technology. So we just need to make sure that that is embedded within the development, because if you don't have that at the front end, when you get to the launch, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be accessible.
And I know that they do set it up, like this passenger portal is operating for hundreds of transit agencies in the States, and it's all set up to ADA kind of perspective. But but I'm sure ours is different in certain areas with Canada. So,
but also just to be careful, because ADA is great. I love it. It's awesome. But ADA is only required for federal regulated organizations. So if you have a transit agency that doesn't provide federal service or isn't mandated in the United States under federal legislation, they don't have to comply with accessibility. So so it's just like, I love it. And I'm always like, I always feel good when we know we're working with an organization that has that system, but we have to be careful and do our due diligence to make sure that on our end, we don't get a, oops, it's not fully accessible kind of moment. So I know you guys are looking into that, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't bugging you every chance I got. So thank you for letting me, thank you for letting me bug you.
Absolutely.
That's just what I was trying to say, is that, I'm sure they have it all set up quite well in the States, but I don't know how many agencies have this in Canada or in Ontario for that matter. So we'll take that feedback and make sure to ask the questions and make sure that we have it
Yep.
as customizable as possible for us.
Great. Now, I have a question, and Cheryl, maybe you know the answer to it. I don't know who would. But when it comes to web services in general, do we have a specialized user experience team, or a group of people, or a group of testers who test on accessibility issues in particular?
Yeah, so we have like I have screen reader technology in my on my computer, on my work computer that I use. And I also, because of my training and knowledge, I am able to run web accessibility scans for some of the internal and external facing web pages that we do. And I work closely with our IT on a variety of different things related to that. In addition, we actually have staff who use Dragon Naturally Speaking and a few other text to voice technologies for their own needs. And we sometimes have them test it, but in addition, we're connected with the CNIB, and we receive any kind of feedback from them, but anybody in the community who wants to tell me something's not working is welcome. And I get every once in a while, I get random phone calls or emails that just say, I was trying to pay, my parking ticket, and this is the error message that comes up. So obviously if it's anything to do with money, we want to fix it. I'm joking. But regardless, or even if it's like, hey, I tried to look at, this happens on occasion. I had tried to look at an amendment on an agenda for the clerk's office for council, and something was scanned. So we have the ability to make our PDFs accessible, but sometimes, when people are in a hurry, especially if there's signatures, what they might do is they might take the document, photocopy it, or scan it, and then create a PDF that way. And that just comes up like a picture, and it's completely inaccessible. People can't read it. So that does happen on occasion. And so then we just go in and we fix it and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's helpful. I really didn't know the answer to that, but I figured that there was something in place. So that's helpful. Carolyn, do you have a question?
I do, and I don't know if it's for you, Jason, or for Julie. Do users need to fill out an application form and be regulated or be assessed by the city before they can start using the service?
I can answer. We do have an application for specialized transit. Section A is completed by the applicant. Section B is completed by their healthcare professional. That is where they're going to identify whether the person requires the service or not. They do the assessment, and then they send it back to us.
So then, Julie, it is very similar to the application that is filled out for links.
Correct.
I've had a look at it, the links one, and it's onerous. It is not, it is, personally, I think it is difficult to complete. I think that having to go to, it's a healthcare professional, isn't it? It's not your physician. Okay.
Correct.
All right, then. So that's just my feedback on the links one. But my other question is, a fee or a charge, will they be paying the exact same as if they were taking a regular bus?
We share the same fare structure as our conventional transit service.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Just a quick comment for Carolyn. So Simcoe County runs the links
Yeah.
system, and Barry run specialized transit, like Barrie Transit, so conventional and specialized transit. And Julie and Jason are super in the know on the links in, like they're dialed into all the different things, but they don't control any of what they do over there. So
yes, I'm aware of that, but I'm hoping that there will be a lot of publicity available about this service once it's up and running. I can only compare it with Lynx, which is a well-kept secret in my opinion. So I'm hoping that the city of Barrie will do a blitz in terms of advertising.
we're going to yell very loudly and proudly about this. Yes, absolutely.
Good.
Well, thank you, Heather.
First of all, I apologize again for being late due to the 400. I am someone who has used our specialized transit for several years, not since the pandemic, but before that. And I wanted to make sure I said, I just love the improvements that are being proposed. I know how much of a difference this will make, and it will make across a large number of disabilities. I love that we are keeping access to the phone system for those who find that the simplest, and adding this additional access, the ability to track where your vehicle is at makes an enormous difference. For those of you who don't know, you used to get this window of half an hour and you had to be sitting at the door fully dressed in all of your things, ready to go out the door as soon as they came, for the entire half an hour, which in the winter, when you have to get bundled up so much, was a real challenge. So I think that this is fantastic. And Carolyn, unfortunately, this form is nowhere near as onerous as most of the forms that those of us with disabilities have to fill out and have filled out to access absolutely everything that we require from life. So that's a bigger question, I think, than our municipal transit authorities could possibly address. But I actually think the form is quite navigable compared to other forms that I have to deal with on a regular basis. And I just want to give hats off to everyone involved in the system. Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
it's nice to hear.
I appreciate that, Heather, and you know, just so you know, it's win-win, right? So, you know, by offering the technology, it enables those who are able to utilize it, but it also frees up the phone lines for those who still want to call, and may help some people be on hold less or be able to book their trips sooner if there's a few more people booking online. So I think it's win-win for both.
And one other comment, just for those of you who weren't on the Accessibility Advisory Committee at the time, I was part of our subcommittee on transit a few years ago, and I really, really appreciate how well we were listened to, because I feel like this represents a very, very good response to a number of the concerns we brought. So just a big thank you to staff for all of their hard work.
That's great. Carolyn, you're on mute. There you go. Nope, there.
One more suggestion for the live voices. If someone is phoning in, can you build into your program where they don't have to wait for half an hour, 20 minutes for someone to answer the phone, but that person will phone them back without them losing a place in the queue?
You're talking about something like some of the big companies like Rogers do. If you don't want to wait, you want us to call back? That's a great suggestion. That's a really great suggestion. I don't know if our system can do it, but it's certainly something that we can present.
If you can, because I had to wait for an hour. I contacted one of the big companies and I had to wait an hour. And I'm just thinking that if you had that facility, then it would make it easier for people, Julie and Jason.
I love the suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm. I'm really hoping that with the changes that are being made and the improvements that are being made, that there will be fewer people calling in, and therefore the wait times will be considerably less, which is fabulous. Fabulous, really. Who wants to wait? Who wants to
My
wait?
concern, Catherine, and I'll finish on this, is that with technology, there'll be fewer people employed and there'll be fewer live voices. So the wait will be longer. Caveat.
Caveat. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Carolyn. All right. No other comments or questions. We will thank you, Jason and
Yes.
Julie.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I echo Heather's comment. Thank you so much. You've always been so great about coming to our committee, and even when we have like things to complain about, you're just always so awesome about coming to this committee and listening. So we really appreciate you both. So thank you.
We really, really do. Thank you,
Yeah.
Cheryl. Yes.
I'm all over that screen reader, Cheryl, all over it.
We've never
Believe you
ever,
me.
we've never ever received one complaint. We've only ever heard constructive feedback.
Liar.
It's always constructive. Everything is, in my mind, it's all constructive
Oh,
feedback.
you are so amazing and sweet, because I know
Yeah.
that we've had some really tough meetings over the years, but you're always so good to come back. So yeah.
Yes. We
It's all
appreciate that.
feedback. It's all positive feedback that we need to hear. So
We like all your company. We keep coming back. We love the
Yeah,
company.
well, that's good. That's good.
Well, thank you so much, you two. And we'll move on to the next item.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. You out.
Take care.
1.2, we have a presentation about the Barrie Arts Awards, and I know that Amanda is going to take this.
Hello,
and-
everyone. Thank you.
Oh, there
for-
you are.
Yep, I'm here. Thank you for
Look around
having
the
me.
screen.
I'm Amanda Dyke. I'm the Cultural Development Officer for the City of Barrie. So I work in the Economic and Creative Development Department, and I've got a little presentation that I will share my screen for. It should be nice and short and sweet. And if somebody can just let me know if they can see it.
We can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so we're here to talk about the Barrie Arts Awards. Give you a little bit of background. So it's held in November of each year. Most recently, it was at Liberty North in 2019, and we're exploring gala locations for 2022 now. So the event includes a gala, and it honors artists, arts organizations, and arts supporters in traditionally 6 categories, including contribution to the community, emerging artists, business champion, most promising youth, excellence in the arts, and artists beyond barriers. The gala features performances by local, regional, and national artists, and is traditionally sponsored by several local businesses or associations or committees. This year, we're finally returning after the pandemic, and our vision is to shine a spotlight on the talent that exists in Barrie and celebrate the sector after a long, hard time away. Our goals for the event are always to increase our relationships with the business community, elevate the event, provide a new venue, theme, performances, and presentations. We always want to increase the quantity and quality of the nominations. And for this year, we've added a Resilience in the Arts Award that looks at honoring an artist or an organization who has risen above some of the challenges of after the last couple of years. But the reason I'm here to chat with you all today is about the Artists Beyond Barriers Award. So the description for the award is that it goes to an artist who has demonstrated creative originality through a body of work despite living with a continuous or recurrent mental or physical disability that results in a substantial restriction in their ability to work, care for themselves, or take part in community life. This award was actually initiated by this very committee back in 2017, and the committee sponsored the award in 2018 and 2019 as well. Traditionally, it's been a $2,000 commitment that covers the cost of the award statuette, which is created by a local artist, and a cash honorarium to our winner. So why I'm presenting to you today. I would love if the committee would consider sponsoring the Artists Beyond Barriers Award again this year. We plan on keeping the award because we think it's very important and it's been very well received over the past several years. But we'd love to come back to you and see if you'd be interested in being involved in the awards and in this gala again this year. As in previous years as well, I would love if the committee wanted to provide some insight on making the gala accessible if possible. I understand you're going into summer hiatus. And wherever possible, support our nominations process by promoting the nominations through your networks. And that's it for me. So thank you. And if anyone has any questions, I'll just stop sharing.
Thanks, Amanda.
Nice and short and sweet.
Heather.
Amanda, I am trying to remember because it's been 2 years. I think we had conversations back in 2019 about what the award looked like and how that was handled. Can you remind us what we ended up with?
Certainly. So the award category initially was Artists Beyond Barriers, and then Artists Without Barriers. And then through some conversation, so I should give a little bit of background too. The 3 award winners that we've had in the category are Lenora Husvetti Frenette. Oh my goodness. Oh, I just had all the names prepared. Joy Red. And the third one was, she was my drama teacher in high school. Oh my goodness. She'd be so mad that I forgot her name. Oh, it'll come back to me. Anyways, I was in conversation with a couple of the previous winners. They said that the Without Barriers didn't quite represent. They felt the Beyond was more important. So that's why we changed that a little bit. I don't think the definition has changed at all. We did also have conversations about the gala night and how that might be overwhelming for the award winner to arrive with the lights and the sound and the crowd and the going on stage. So again, those are all things where I'd like insight from the committee if possible.
But then I thought we also had conversations about the way the award itself was shaped, or
okay,
what the award itself captured.
Because I think I think it's different every year, Heather. Like
yes.
the awards themselves are created by a local artist, so they're different every single year.
Yes.
But you're correct. Like we did have conversations about all of that. And I think even when we got the feedback about just the overwhelmingness of accepting the award and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it's an incredible event, and we don't want to detract or take away from people who want to participate in that. But at the same time, we want to create a safe space for people who might, for whatever reason, be like flooded with stimulation from that.
That's right.
And I feel like in the post-pandemic world, we should be better at doing that, because we can do it virtually. Like
absolutely,
so we can figure out and I don't know what the answer is exactly, but perhaps we can have some really neat options.
Absolutely.
You know,
already exploring options because of obviously Barrie doesn't have a ton of venues that can accommodate the large crowd that we traditionally have for the Arts Awards. So right now we're exploring ways of making it sort of a combo, like Cheryl said. So perhaps some award winners would get their awards in advance, and we would do a video, and maybe it's just the award presenter and the award winner in a beautiful backdrop space. We've also talked about doing our performances in different spaces in whatever facility we might use, and live streaming. So we could always do an award ceremony or award presentation in a separate space that same night if the person wanted to come out. So again, like I think this is pretty early for me to be coming to the committee as well, correct, Cheryl? Traditionally, I'd be planning the Arts Awards a little later in the year, but again, we're very excited to be back. Let's just say that we're very excited for the Arts Awards to come back. So I want to make sure we're doing it really well this year. So that's why I think it's really important to bring all of these ideas to the committee and see what your thoughts are. And yeah, so open to all the ideas. We don't really have anything banged out yet, but we just know that we love that the committee came to us wanting to add this award, and we absolutely want to keep it. And if the committee wants to be involved again, we'd love to have the committee's involvement. And yes, I think the first year we did have an award statuette that was kind of heavy, kind of bulky. And in the last 2 years, they've been much lighter. And the person I'm kind of thinking about as far as the statuette creation this year, I think it would be a lighter statuette as well, easier for handling as well.
I think we should have a discussion about these ideas, and potentially we can have some exchange of ideas and stuff like that offline as well. Sure. But before we get too much further, I just want to check in with Tammy. Tammy, we'll need a motion for this, correct? A motion. You're on. Everyone needs mugs that say,
Sorry,
you're on mute.
Are you talking to spend the money to donate?
To spend the money, yeah, so essentially the last, so in 2018, 2019, the Accessibility Advisory Committee used $2,000 of their budget to put forward towards the Barrie Arts Awards, which is a fantastic cause, obviously, and it was something that they initiated and were really passionate about. And I think it would be something that would be worthwhile to continue. And this year, especially because you have spent no money. So yay, you have it.
So you don't need a formal motion. We just,
No?
the committee just needs to approve if they want to
Okay.
spend the $2,000. And I just noted in the minutes, the
So-
expenditure
Oh,
as an
okay, so we don't
expenditure.
need to.
So,
So
but if
we
you
don't,
just all have to be in agreement with it, that's all.
okay, okay.
Okay,
And so
well,
I'm happy to go offline after any
Oh.
questions that have arisen so that you can have that conversation, and Cheryl or Tammy or somebody can always
I don't
follow
think,
up with me that way.
I don't
that's
think
very-
you need to,
Yeah,
Amanda.
that's very sweet. I don't think you need to.
Carolyn has a question.
Yes, so Amanda, you're coming asking us for money that we have given you in the past.
Correct.
And you mentioned $2,000. This committee there'll be a new committee in the fall. So is there more than 2,000 in the pot that's available to us? And if so, should we give that money? Let's say there's 3,000. Should we give that to Amanda?
So
Do we-
the sponsorship for that award is only the 2,000 because it covers the costs for the award statuette to be created and then the honorarium that we provide to the artist. So we wouldn't need the additional funds.
Okay.
And yeah, again, like I think the committee probably could find other resources or other events that they might want to sponsor. Again, I think Cheryl and I've spoken about the resources as far as maybe providing someone to do ASL at the event. There's another budget that we could potentially tap into for that. But I really appreciate your generosity, Carolyn. I wish all of my sponsors were that eager.
Well, what happens, Amanda, is if you don't use the money, it goes back into the
That's
coffers.
right. Oh,
And,
I'm
and so that was my thinking.
Yes.
Yes,
well,
I
if you
do-
want to chat about other opportunities to engage artists that could be, it could be utilized for, I've got lots of ideas.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Catherine.
Okay, thanks. At this point, I think we're just looking at approval for the $2,000 to go to Amanda and to the Arts Awards for the Artists Beyond Barriers Award. And I'll just throw in my 2 cents that I did attend the last one.
2019, I think you were
I
there
think that was
for, yes.
2019. Yes. And it was wonderful. I chatted with oh, I can't think of her first name, sorry. Red.
Joy. Well, so
Joy, thank
Joy
you.
wasn't at the 2019 ones. Actually, Shelley Skinner presented or accepted the award on her behalf.
Yes.
So you may have chatted with Shelley on behalf of Joy.
Oh, no,
'cause
no.
think-
I chatted with Joy
Oh, after.
offline and,
Okay.
and afterwards. Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to contact her directly just to tell her that we were pleased that she received the award and just learn a little bit about her. And so I was able to do that. I really appreciated that. It's wonderful to see where the artists in our community are.
Yeah.
And where they are. So Councillor Thompson, do you have a question?
Thanks through you, Chair. I was just wondering, because we haven't spent any money, if there would be an opportunity, maybe somebody from our committee could present the award. I didn't catch that part.
Oh, absolutely. So Catherine has presented the award in the past, and prior to that, the former chair presented the award. So as part of the sponsorship, that would absolutely include that. So the members of the committee would be invited to attend. And if the chair or vice chair is comfortable doing so, we would have them come up and present the award. Absolutely. And we would include, like, as part of our website and other places, that the award is sponsored by the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Just to, again, bring bring extra exposure to the committee, and we always do like hyperlinks to your page so people can find more information about what you do. So that's a big part of the sponsorship piece. It's very different, I think, for our corporate sponsors where we get their logos, that kind of thing. But wherever we can hyperlink or include in our media release that award is all about accessibility and that's sponsored by the committee, we always include that too.
Great.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I was looking for, the exposure for the committee.
Absolutely.
And I mean, would seats be available with the sponsor? Or could, as a committee, we buy a table or?
Yep. We haven't, I think actually in 2019, we did a little bit of table purchasing. I don't think we'll go back to that again, though. It got really complicated for the gala night. But we would absolutely coordinate with the committee how many seats you'd like and reserve those for the committee. Absolutely. And again, as part of that, make sure that any accessibility requirements are in place.
Good stuff. That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor
Thank you.
Thompson.
Carolyn?
Catherine, Amanda, are the awards traditionally awarded to one person, or have they in the past gone to a group?
The Artists Beyond Barriers Award has only ever gone to an individual.
Okay.
And I think it's traditionally more tied to an individual. Some of our other awards, though, could go to an organization or a business or an arts collective. But thus far, it's been an individual. Though, again, if there was an arts collective that had a focus on this specific kind of realm, then that they would absolutely be eligible for the nomination.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Hey, thank you.
Such great questions. I love it.
Yeah.
Shall we vote?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand.
Yep.
Say aye for Councillor Thompson. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, he put his hand up.
Okay, thank you.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Looks like we are good to go with this approval.
Thank you so much.
And
I'll be back in touch.
I'll duke it out with you, Catherine, which of us gets to give out the award.
Well, the
you're
two of you
welcome
could
You
do
could
it
do it together. Yeah,
You
you could do it
Absolutely.
together.
That'd be
You can
lovely.
eliminate me. You can have my spot.
So I guess next steps, then I'll follow up with Cheryl as we get a little bit further through the process, make sure I've got all of my information correct for any of our promotions. And yeah, when we get closer to the gala, we'll make sure that the group knows, and I can always come back and present again in the fall, if that makes sense. So Tammy, I don't know if you want to maybe note that, and I can come back when they reconvene and just bring an update forward.
Okay, so September,
Thank
probably
you.
be September.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Amanda, I have one more question.
Sure.
It's not going to affect what our decision, but how are these award winners nominated, or how are
So
they chosen?
we're about to launch the nominations and do an early round. We'll keep the nominations open through the year, but we just want to bring it earlier to give people lots of an opportunity to nominate. So we do use an online form system. It's called JotForm. The website should have its accessibility features, but I haven't set it up yet. So I can go in and take a look. And if I need to run anything by Cheryl, I will.
And that's actually really great segue, because I was going to say to the committee, like, if you yourselves have artists in your lives, or you yourself are an artist, you're welcome to forward this application and the opportunity to people. And the idea when the award was first initiated was just about the fact that the committee recognized that to be an artist is difficult, but to be an artist with disabilities sometimes is impossible, because of access may not have the ability to show your work in spaces, which limits, marketability, and, it just goes on and on and on. So it was really neat that they had the idea to do this, and that Amanda and the rest of the team found a space for them to, and I say space loose, like the Arts Awards was an area.
Perfectly. It fit perfectly. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind if you yourself are an artist, or you have artists in your life who might have barriers. The more the merrier. We want to have as many
Yes.
applications as possible.
So what I'll do then is once the nominations process is live, and before then, I'll just check in with Cheryl just to make sure that my form and everything on my website content is going to be fully accessible. But once that's all live, I'll share the link with Cheryl and with Tammy, and then wherever possible, we can share it around to the committee. And then, yeah, by all means, spread it out through the community. We'd love to see as many fulsome nominations as possible across all of the categories. So again, you'd be welcome to nominate people in other categories as well.
Great. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, well,
Okay.
thank you. If you don't need anything else from me, I will sign off. All right, enjoy the rest of your meeting. It was nice to
Thank
see
you,
you all. Thank you
Amanda.
so much for your time.
Take good care.
Take care.
Talk to
Bye.
you soon. Bye. Okay, so
Last but not least.
last but not least, Mr. He has a lot of patience. That's all I'm going to say is thanks, Gus. We're moving on to the discussion items. We have the adult change tables, city facilities.
Hi, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate being invited. I'm Gus Damatopoulos. I'm manager of corporate facilities. So I help organize. We operate and maintain essentially every building the city owns except for rec facilities. So we support city hall, fire, police, water, wastewater, and all parks washrooms also. So we either fix them when they're broken or clean them when they're dirty, or clean them anyways. So thank you very much for inviting me. This is the follow-up to the adult change table and the taking a look at the feasibility. And what we've done across the board, we've taken a look at the feasibility of retrofitting adult change tables. And the challenge has been with the requirements of one privacy, the other is the amount of kind of circulation space that's required within the building code. Retrofitting in existing, we looked at the parks washrooms too, is really challenging and probably not attainable. But what we've done though to look at that is I've spoken with Jessica Leifel. She's our manager of facility planning and development. So what we're looking to do is maybe, I mean, we're doing it regardless, even if it was something that was asked by the committee, but we'd be looking at any net new renovations or new construction that we'd be incorporating the ability to have those types of change tables. So it's retrofitting existing, especially we looked at the parks washrooms because that was a big one that we had discussed, but especially some of the washrooms that were built in the 70s and 80s and earlier than that. Accommodating in and creating a space for it is pretty challenging because a lot of them are really small to begin with. So I was hoping actually you'd have everyone's support in terms of, having that type of motion saying that, we will incorporate, and we have some fairly large capital projects that are either already approved or in the works right now, which includes the operations center on Ferndale Drive. That'll be a complete replacement. We have the wastewater admin building, again, that's going into design. So we've got some real opportunities on a lot of our new buildings. Good and bad, those are not necessarily that public a building, it's more staff type of buildings. However, we have rec centers, there is a lot of opportunity. And then, I'm hoping for the support of actually rebuilding some of our parks washrooms because they're just so well used. So definitely taking on those opportunities too.
We will support you. Where do we sign, basically?
Well, if you want a little, and Cheryl, you'll remember, Timbit, the last time I was invited to this committee was for the Meridian Place, Memorial Square construction. And I can tell you this committee was a big part of some additional design to make it more accessible from the top to the bottom. So you guys hold a big part in that. So if you go by to visit, just remember the two walkways on either side is because I never thought of it and you guys did. So thank you.
So what would be helpful for you, Gus? Like what would be helpful? So do you have an idea of what kind of motion, what kind of wording you want to fit into the projects so that you can consider accessibility and adult change tables, or what are you thinking here?
well, maybe Tammy can help, but I'm thinking if you guys put a recommendation forward to say that every new major reno and new build, that facilities, facilities plan development in the design work would incorporate that into a design, then it's just that one extra. We're on board anyways, but I think it'd be good if that kind of recommendation comes from this panel, then it just makes sure we have to tick that box. And there is it just kind of also give you some overall background. There is definitely kind of a change in this overall design philosophy, and you'd see if you've gone to any really new public buildings, especially rec centers, that men's and ladies big separate wash, that kind of concept is gone by the wayside, and so there'll be more of the gender neutral type of change areas, which then includes individual kind of pods or change areas. That really makes it way easier to facilitate this type of having a dedicated one that has that adult change table and everything. So even the fundamental design concept of how things are evolving, it actually lends itself to making it much easier than, you go back to like Allendale or some of our, older type of facilities, right? It's just, we never thought of that stuff before, unfortunately.
Carolyn, you have a question?
Yes, it's more of a comment, Catherine. Gus, I really liked the idea that your new build for operations, etc., will have these adult change tables, because it will certainly give you an opportunity to try them out or see how they're all working with the staff, even though the public may be not using them that much. I think the optics are very good, that regardless of whether it's for the public, it's a new build, and all new builds will meet this criteria.
Yep.
So kudos to you.
Thank you. Yeah, our operations center is definitely a place that has, it was built back in the early 70s, and some of the assumptions in that building, if anyone's ever been in there, are quite interesting. To get from one side of the building to the other in one spot, you have to walk through the men's washroom. There was the assumption that there would never be any ladies working in there, I guess, way back. It's pretty funny. It's not funny, but
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. So anyways, that is one building that's getting completely replaced, and it's due.
I've never actually taken that route in that building, thank God.
Yeah, you literally walk by the men's showers to get to the other side.
That's bananas. But and while just a quick comment, Heather has her hand up, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I love this idea. I really want to support you, and I agree with you in part, Carolyn, but because our operations center is probably the one center that has zero public access, I think from a cost perspective, if we have that requirement and in a facility where we do not need it, I think we have to provide council with the opportunity to say no to that, like on a unique basis, like per, I think all public facing facilities, which would include City Hall, because City Hall is a public facing facility. But like, I just think like if we don't have the opportunity to say no for those facilities where we don't need it, that will be a problem, because it's going to be more cost potentially to include it in the construction, not the design. Design it out, and if it works to keep it, fantastic. But if you design it out and then the cost can be reduced by excluding that one item I would only recommend this for, say, the operations center. Any other facility, I would probably say, like, absolutely, let's do it. But because that, just know, like, for everybody on the call, The operations center is where we have like our mechanics. They do all the repairs to all of our vehicles, all of our snow clearing staff, all of our snow clearing vehicles, all of our forestry, all of our parks, all of our road technician. Like it's like the word operations is it's very operational. And so that's my only comment about like, so I don't want to squish the idea overall, because I think it's great. But I think if we insist on it in every facility, even when it's not needed, that could backfire to us. So
I think, Cheryl, that we could put it essentially where we design, we look to implement, and then if there are the offshoots that it doesn't make sense, we report back and
I love it.
Why.
Let's do that. Okay, perfect. Let's have like a loop, like where you have to
a small loophole.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You need to account why.
Exactly. You have to
I think that's a
argue
very good
why.
idea.
I
Yeah.
like perfect. Thank you.
Okay, we have a lot of questions here. So I'm just going to start in the order that everybody popped up their hands. So Heather, please go ahead.
Cheryl, you know I love you, but I think you're wrong on this one. I'm going to tell you why. I'm just going to cut to the chase. Just because most of the staff are operations staff, and therefore you're assuming that they are not power wheelchair users who have attendance, does not mean that you will never have a power wheelchair user.
That's a great point. That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah.
Or something else. And so where
or maybe we'll have a wheelchair operator who's a mechanic. Absolutely. Yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you for providing. Yeah.
Whereas the 70s thinking thought, well, we'll never ever need to have women go through this floor. I would hate to be the city who had 2020s thinking that assumed that a power wheelchair user was never going to work in this building. So
I love it. No, thank you.
I would be willing to sign off on something that said that every single city building will be spec'd out with a spot pre-prepared, the wall, everything for a accessible change table. And that in the case of non-public facing buildings, they may be deferred in terms of installing them until such time as that is necessary for accessibility compliance for a given employee. But I would not want to be redesigning buildings in the 2020s as a city and not have it pre-prepared. That's as dumb as building houses in the 2020s and not putting backing board behind showers and walls for grab bars. It's silly. Yeah. And that's another conversation that we'll have another time. But I'm going to have to respect.
I thank you. This is perfect. Because you're absolutely right. I thank you for the correction, because I'm thinking about it how it looks today, but you're 100% right. Who knows what it's going to look like tomorrow? And like
no reason why I couldn't be an admin in the city.
But I'm not even talking, who cares about admins? Like we have building inspectors who use wheelchairs. So why can't we have a mechanic who uses a wheelchair? Like, so thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
And then my other comment, Gus, was just a huge thank you. I am part of a large community of wheelchair users, many of whom rely on change tables for their needs. Many families who have family members who rely on change tables for their needs. And this has been a very long time coming. And I think even though I suspect it will be several more years before it is in place in Barrie, I am grateful to know that we're going to be putting this into our protocols and confirming that this will happen. I would say one thing, I had one idea for something that might be possible in the meantime to get something out there sooner rather than later. And I don't know whether it's been considered or not, but I wondered whether in the building where the lifeguards use at Centennial Beach, whether it would be possible to install one for the time being in that space. I haven't ever been into the space, so I don't know how it's laid out. Not assuming that it's possible, but I wondered whether we could consider that as a temporary measure to get something out there sooner than the retrofits at Heritage Park and the other places, because I know that those are going to take years. And we have families who are desperate to be able to enjoy our beaches today. So I just wanted to make that.
Is that a marina facility, you guys? Is that a rec facility or a?
So we take care of it in terms of facilities. The one where the lifeguards use is actually they also use the backside of the hamburger concession stand building.
Sort of
That
what
is
I was
actually-
talking about, as opposed to the washroom building, because I know the washroom building is, anyways, but that was what I was wondering, was whether there might be space in that back section, or might be an ability to like add something onto that in a way that allowed us to get to, we have an adult change table sooner rather than later down at Centennial.
Okay. Yeah, I can look in that. I know the building you're talking about, and right now it's basically used as storage. But I also know that we just, I think, adopted the Parks Master Plan, which actually had that building being replaced in the short term, or at least the ask would happen. So yeah, I could definitely look into that and see the feasibility of that, because it's true, it's a nice central location.
Well, and it also, like, I know that there's been a lot of concern around the table not being misused in a way that would be problematic for those who need to be able to use it appropriately. And I thought that might, because it's staffed at least in the summer, and maybe could be staffed a little bit more of the year, then that might make it a little bit easier for us to try it out and see what the usability of it is and what the issues and stuff are in a way that's more supervised.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can tell you, we've had our challenges with baby change tables and that kind of thing. However, it's a great location in terms of, in the summer, it is packed. So it's definitely a good location. So I'd be happy to look at that and see the feasibility and at least put some cost into it for sure.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Good. Thank you, Heather. Louise is next.
Yes, I was just going to speak sort of what Heather was bringing up, because at the operations center at one point, they were renting out and United Way was in there. And I can remember going in there and saying, ooh, in terms of accessibility, but that might happen.
It's a horrible building. Yeah,
I couldn't get there.
Any building that we build now will be beautiful, regardless of who's in it. So, but yeah, no, I'm grateful for Heather for bringing my perspective back, because it's a perfect point. Yeah.
The other thing, Dusty, is while you're here, what about Lampman Lane? I was just there for the first time when I went to vote for the election. And is it on the board for being replaced, or?
Lampman Lane?
The washrooms are, we're in the 2022 budget for a retro of some accessibility.
Yep.
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But definitely, I was going to say the forward-looking in terms of the buildings, because if you think about it, the original ops was built in 72, so it's taken 50 years to replace it. So the next one, maybe another 50 years. So
let's wordsmith a motion, like a recommendation for you guys that would be helpful. So I think Heather,
before you start, Marie Francis has a.
Oh, sorry, her hand up.
Her hand up.
Oh no, I forgot to take my hand down.
You're on mute.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I totally third what Heather said. I think that having it fitted out so that it's a very, very easy retrofit is the ideal. I also wonder if as I know that there are different maps and apps that the city of Barrie uses. I wonder if we could flag on those accessible washroom sites, like with the adult change tables and stuff, just so that as we slowly get them, at least people can congregate towards them.
I have asked for that. Right now, I actually asked for it last, I think, fall or winter when we had this discussion last, maybe November. I can't remember when we, it was recommended that we not do anything at the present, because at the present, the situation isn't so great. So it was like basically highlighting that it's not so great. So part of why Gus is here is to like address that first conversation, because when staff come to you guys and they have a conversation, it's tracked, and then their bosses and their bosses' bosses say, what's happened with this? Where is this? What's going on with this? And so the only way that we can resolve that is if staff come back and we come to some kind of resolution. And so if the plan is to go forward with all new builds having accessible washrooms and accessible change tables, that will become part of our physical sign strategy, like on the ground sign strategy. And then it'll also become part of our website strategy. So right now they have listings for where there are accessible washrooms, but they're not, it's not kind of easy mapping. Like you have to physically go to each park or each location and say, is there an accessible washroom? What we could do as a committee is we could put like a short list, like an index list of accessible washrooms on our page. And then we could link that out so that if people type in the website accessible washrooms, it would take them to our page. Like I can commit to that. And then we can wait for Access Berry and everybody else to get all their ducks in a row so that it looks the way they want it to look. Because I've learned that washrooms are very controversial in this city. So we need to be careful about that. Yeah. But we can't, if that's an interest of you, Marie Francis and others, I can certainly commit to do that and then present to you what that looks like. And you can say, yes, that works, or no, that doesn't. And we can kind of go back and forth to fix that.
Even if we were to tone it down a bit, instead of so clearly pointing out the absence of change tables, we could say like accessible washroom and then like enhanced accessible washroom.
Well, that's a good idea. Yeah.
So then it's not so obvious, like these exist basically nowhere. You can say, oh, and there's also an enhanced one.
And I love it. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good idea. Yeah.
So I'll do that. And then I'll share with you by email what that looks like. And you can let me know if it works.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me go back on it.
Okay, so at this point we are looking for a motion. Cheryl?
I think so, Gus. I think a recommendation, like, so
recommendation.
It sounds, yeah. So it sounds like Gus is doing a lot of work. And if we have a recommendation that supports that work, that'll just help to, like push the work that he's already doing in the right direction.
Yeah, it definitely helps embed, that requirement, so that even when we build our budgets for those capital projects, that is this is a line item. We are absolutely, when we build our budgets and we're looking for those cost savings, the must check marks are there, and then it stays. It doesn't get lost in the, well, we need to save 5% or whatever that happens to be, right? So that's why that motion really helps.
So is something like, Tammy will have to help us. We're clerks
so
speak it.
I'm not sure if I've kind of written something down, and I don't know if this is kind of what you're looking at.
Okay.
So you want it, you're already doing the work, right? Kind of, you're looking into it. So do you need an investigate? Like, that you investigated, or you just,
No, so I think he wants a recommendation. So
Okay.
I think.
so what I
Okay.
have is staff and corporate facilities consider incorporating a design for accessible adult change tables at public washrooms at any new city facility, or retrofitting current public washrooms. Something on that line. I don't know if that's kind of what you're looking at.
I think it would actually be a little bit more, only because so within even the building code now, it talks about that preparation, but it's that taking that final step, because it's always the easy, well, let's delete out, the actual table. Let's delete this out because we're still meeting the intent of the code. So if we go to the, we will include it, and then something to the effect of, if it doesn't make any sense, then we would actually report it back prior to removing it and saying, this is the reasoning, and we have the discussion, so that,
Okay.
it's right now it's kind of in the way of, we can just pre-delete it, where
Yeah.
this would turn us to the, it's a must. And
So
if
I was
there's
gonna
some
say,
really
let's use,
outlying stand
yeah,
or
Then let-
reasoning, then
yeah. So then let's use that word. Let's use
Okay,
must.
so where am I putting? Okay, so I got that staff.
So the city, so the Accessibility Advisory Committee recommends that for all future City of Barrie buildings.
So yeah, new builds or
New
major
builds.
renovations.
And or major renovations, all public washrooms must include an adult change table. And then I don't think we need to put an or. I think what happens is if they can't, or there's a question, they'll circle back anyway, and they'll be like, we can't do it for this reason. And then, and that'll automatically initiate a mechanism to review. Well, why can't you do it?
No, that wasn't what I was going to say though, Cheryl.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. What I was going to say is must include an adult change table, or allocate the space for it.
Or the provisions for, or something like that.
Yes, yeah, because we know that there will be some places where we don't necessarily need to put it immediately. But if things change, we will need it. I'm assuming that it will go in most of them. There has to be some very strange and unusual reason why we wouldn't. But just, I think, to ensure that we allocate the space for them as well, whether one is going in immediately or not.
And
No,
that's
I
the biggest
totally
thing
agree.
is the space allocation.
Yeah.
The table is easy, but the having built
The
the
space.
physical room to have that space,
Yes.
that's the killer, right? So
Yeah, that's my concern. So
What Heather used, she threw around some fancy language when she was talking about this. Heather, do you remember what you said? Like, because I think it speaks exactly to this.
Well,
So for wordsmithing.
Allocate the space and provide all of the preparations for installation of an adult change table, if such table is deemed by the Accessibility Advisory Committee, by accessibility staff, by someone to
But the comedian, absolutely. I like that, because then that means staff have to come back every single time. If they don't, if they can't make it or they don't want to, then they come back to you guys every single time, and they have to say, this is why we can't do it.
you have to plead our case, why not?
Yeah, I like that. That'll do it. Yeah.
But that's only, like, even if that's the case, then they still have to do all the other things, but that's only if they can provide reasonable rationale to us. And I'm not willing to accept, well, we don't have anyone who works here who needs it, because the reason that you don't have anyone here who needs it working here is because they can possibly use the washroom. So
But if it's built in, because this is the thing. So this is the thing. I really love that you snapped me to that, because you're 100% right. Because just as an example, if we had a staff person who needed it tomorrow, even at the, well, at the operations center, we wouldn't, because at the operations center, it's completely inaccessible right now. We'd relocate them, but if they needed it tomorrow, say, in a facility that doesn't currently have one, we would just call up Gus and we would say, Gus, we have to retrofit this bathroom, and this is the schedule that you have to do, and these are why you have to do it, and that's just do it. So you're right, but it would be a million times easier to make that happen if, when we called Gus and said, hey Gus, we have to do this, because I'm probably going to be the person calling Gus, it would be easier if I knew the space was already there, and that the infrastructure behind the walls was already there, so that it wasn't going to be, huge tear down wreck.
Then he
to make it happen. Yeah.
He needs to order it, and it takes as long as it takes to order. I mean, this is the reason why I think it should just be there to begin with. Like, if I was still on the committee and you came to me, you would have to give me a really good reason, and the operations center reason isn't holding mustard here. So I don't know that there's a good enough reason not to do this, but I think that, the only way it could be left out would be if all of the infrastructure is in place, all of the wiring, all of the boards, all of everything, and all you literally have to do is get it ordered and delivered. But given how long it takes to order and deliver things and install them, I don't love
Heather,
it.
can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
Would that be classified with an adult change table, a fully accessible washroom?
Yes.
So then the wording could be that all new builds have rough-in to make fully accessible washrooms as needed.
Councillor Thompson's got the terms, rough-in. I love it. Thank you.
Rough-in, yes, but I think we need to be specific to say adult change tables, because.
Well, that's why I was saying sometimes if you just leave it to the point of that makes it a fully accessible washroom. That's why I asked the question to Heather. If that would make it a fully accessible.
I would still articulate it. I think that most people won't.
Exactly. People don't have the lexicon.
Yeah. It's like, unless you're really focused on this, I think that could be missed. And I wouldn't want that to be missed by like other council members in a future space who thought that this thing counted as that thing. I think that's a risk I wouldn't want to take. So yes, let's say fully accessible washroom, and then let's articulate what that means. And also,
you could say including fully accessible and comma, including adult change table.
But I wouldn't want to say the rough-in as the first thing. I would want to say the full inclusion piece first, and then say in specific areas with the approval of the Accessibility Advisory Committee, it may be possible to leave out the adult change table provided all rough-in is completed. But
I was just thinking this would be a motion at council, right? So, and every motion at council would be followed by a staff report. So the rough-in would be that all future washrooms have the rough-in for a fully accessible washroom. And then in the staff report, it would lay out everything which is like for the public. So it's not missed. It's always in the attachments of the motion. I just think if you get too long in the motion and layout specifics, like we lay out the rules kind of how we want to see things to staff, but I think we could get a little bit long-winded in it, and just like, that's just an opinion.
So it's a very good opinion, because you're our council member, so we need this guidance. So are you thinking then that we might be too wordy and then lose the point.
Exactly. You know,
Okay.
and sometimes it's, you know, it's back to that, you know, sometimes less is better.
Okay.
Because, you know, if somebody, like, for example, it comes to council and it says that all future washrooms must be roughed in for fully accessible. Everybody puts their hand up, they pass, like, there's nobody gonna vote down. But then you start adding, this has to be here, and then you're gonna have the conversation that we just had as a committee. You know, because, you know, sometimes the ignorance towards this, and not deliberate, but the lack of knowledge and all that, where people start thinking, well, don't you need somebody else on a change table? And why would we have one in a city-owned building?
Yeah.
Because they think of, you know, baby change tables and stuff.
Yeah. No, that's
Like
a very good
sometimes
point.
you don't need to.
Yeah. So in other words, it would be, I see you, Carolyn. Don't worry. In other words, the notes would be attached to the motion. And so it's up to the councillors to read the motions if they want to. Is that correct? But it is actually.
Yeah, 100%. Like, so our staff are excellent. Like, you'll never have a motion in front of council that you don't have A to Z information if you choose to have that. And it's all on the agenda and it's printed for the public a week in advance. So
okay, that's great. Thank you.
So Gus, would you be writing the staff report for this?
I guess so.
So can I help you write that staff
Oh,
report?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
No, this is fairly straightforward, and the nice thing in terms of, you know, final audience.
Yeah.
It's our facilities planning and development, so we know, you know, we know what we're trying to do. And
okay.
From the same point, I mean, when you say about a city building, I see us as, you know, we're the leaders on having these in our facilities, and then, you know, hopefully it goes out to the community too. But
okay,
I want to showcase that.
Excellent.
We're leading the charge on that.
Okay,
Cheryl, so I'm going to propose that I help you with that staff report, and then I'll reach out to Heather and anyone else who's interested in contributing, so that we make sure that we have that additional background piece very well explained, and so that it's, you know, it's not a mystery what it means.
Sure.
Okay. Cheryl, Carolyn has had her hand up for the last. Good thing she's not holding her hand up physically, because she'd have no blood in her hand. She's been waiting a long time. So let's just go, Carolyn.
Thank you, Catherine. I was looking at wordsmithing, and Tammy had used the word recommends. I would suggest that this committee, the Accessibility Committee, advises and supports the inclusion of adult change tables in all future accessible washrooms.
That's very nice.
Does that capture, is it short and sweet?
Well, it's great, but it doesn't capture that rough-in kind of conversation that we just had.
I don't want that.
No.
I think Cheryl, it would work, because for the same reason that Councillor Thompson said before, we don't need to say everything.
Okay.
Staff is going to follow through, and I think that Carolyn's wording focuses on our primary cause.
Okay, Tammy's shaking her head here. So.
Oh no, I'm not at that.
Okay. All right. Don't.
I might want to suggest one thing. I do actually like Councillor Thompson's point of, if we call it fully accessible, because even 10 years ago, what that meant to what it means today, you know, we're talking about the adult change. I don't know what that might be 10 years from now. Do you know what I mean? Like, so if you just call it that fully accessible, then we make it, you know, for the time, what is that?
You can say
so much has changed.
You can say like a fully accessible washroom that includes such as adult change table.
And maybe in the future, it also means something else.
I think we're going to take, I think we're going to take off the adult change table from the motion, and we're going to include that in the staff report, So all that information, all that background information will go into the staff report so that it's included with that.
What does
so
it
that,
mean?
yeah, so they have that context and then it's explained versus the motion. So from an efficiency perspective, so what Councillor Thompson's referring to, I don't know if anybody has ever like tuned in to a committee count, like a city council meeting online. But sometimes what happens is a motion will get held up for discussion versus just being passed through and accepted, right? And so so he's proposing that we make it our motion more palatable so that it gets passed through versus held up for potential questioning or revision or whatever, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So to Gus's point, sorry to interrupt, but to Gus's point, so we're going to retrofit a new build, the ops center, and then we're going to build a center in the Painswick in 25 years. A fully accessible washroom may change. Like new intervention might say that an adult change table is actually hazardous and not the best way. So in the staff report, whenever they're speaking of that building, the staff report would lay out what makes it fully accessible to today's standards. And then in 20 years, when they build the Painswick, the staff report would say, now this is what makes it full. And, and that's why I just think that that is probably our better approach to achieve what we're looking for.
It makes the motion kind of timeless, and then everything else can catch up as it needs to.
Yes, so I think we just put together the wording now. Support and advise and support.
Yeah, Tammy, go.
I'm lost now.
Okay.
Okay,
Carolyn,
I can help you through this.
Yeah,
I can help you
Carolyn.
through it.
Oh, Catherine. Okay.
Okay.
We can wordsmith it, but we just need to get the actual concept of what the committee wants to do.
Okay, so the committee advises and supports the will I say roughing in? Not roughing in.
Carolyn, can you reread yours?
Well,
Carolyn.
it had included the adult change table, and in
we'll just take that off. Yeah, we'll take that off. Yeah.
Because the advises and supports the inclusion of fully accessible washrooms in all new builds.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Perfect. Yay.
And then the details.
I'll bet coffee it passes on consent.
Okay. Heather?
Councillor Thompson's buying us ice cream if it doesn't.
Yeah.
I was
How
just
about this?
saying,
I'll buy you ice cream either way.
Okay.
I was just saying yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I think
thank you.
Tammy has to read
Okay.
it back to us though. Tammy has to read it back to us? No?
Okay, so that the committee advises and supports the inclusion of fully accessible washrooms in all new builds, so meaning new city facilities, right?
Okay. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you. Okay, so on that note, we are moving on to the last item on the agenda.
Thanks, Gus. If you need to, you can
Oh,
run
thanks,
away.
Gus.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Gus.
much.
Thanks
It's a
so
pleasure
much.
seeing you all.
Thank you.
Really, really
Bye.
helpful.
Thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so now we are going to move on to the last item on the agenda, which is the 2022 Municipal Election Accessibility Plan. And I believe that we have Tara and Megan. Megan?
Yes. Hi. Yes, my name is Tara MacArthur. I'm the coordinator of elections and special projects right now. As well with me is Megan Williams. She's our deputy city clerk. And she's also here available to answer any questions and whatnot you have afterwards. Okay. I do have just like a little overview and to show you exactly what our voting method will be this election. And as well, then I have the accessible, a draft or proposed accessibility plan for this year's election.
Sorry to interrupt, Tara, just for point of clarity, as I've put my papers in to run in the municipal election, should I remove myself from this conversation just in an abundance of caution, or?
It's more, this is just an information and whatnot.
Okay.
I don't, as far as voting, if there was a motion or whatnot, I don't believe that
so
it would be
Councillor,
accomplished that way.
yeah, so Councillor Thompson, this is actually just, this is good information for you in your, you know, upcoming municipal election, but also as our council member. So all municipalities are required by law, they're legislatively required to have an accessibility plan for their municipal elections. So it's good.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I just, in an abundance of caution, I just wanted to make that clear and stuff, but sorry to interrupt.
No worries. I think ethically you're fine, but thank you so much for having that consideration. That's wonderful.
It would definitely be the input into the plan if we had a motion or whatnot. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. If I can remember how to do it. There we go. Can everybody see my screen there?
Nope.
No.
No. I'm always on the other end of doing this. Oh, I gotta hit share. That helps. Can you see now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're excited, very excited this year for this the 2022 municipal election, which is being held on October 24th. That is the final day of voting. This election is the city is I can't say it today, modernizing the voting process by using an online and telephone voting system. This voting method will provide residents with an option to vote online and by phone, either in the comfort of your own home or wherever they choose of their choosing. It offers a fast and accurate voting and voting tabulation and ensures confidence and privacy and the integrity of the voting process, is accessible to voters and transparency and accountability to voters. The city will, which is different this year. Normally we have, per ward, we have 2 voting locations that we would set up. This year, because of the option of having internet and telephone voting, we've got it down to voting assessment or assistance centers, 1 in each ward. And if there are anybody that is doesn't have a computer or telephone or having issues, aren't on the voter list and whatnot, that's what these centers are for. They will, we're hoping to use all city facilities this year. There's only 1 ward that doesn't have a city facility, so that will be confirmed soon. The voting, we will have the permanent locations will be October 21st, or sorry, 20th, 21st, and 22nd at these permanent locations. And then the final voting day on October 24th. The voting polls, we hope to, it should be open October 14th. And really that's allowing people to log in on their own to vote at their time and leisure. Probably in the beginning of October, residents will, that are on the voters list, will receive voter information cards. And these have pins, but there's 2 identification with it, the pin number that you receive in the card, and then the voter's birth date. So that's just a quick overview. And then next I prepared, and this is just a proposed and draft. It's a lot of it is based on 2018, but we've changed it in the aspect of it being the internet and voting system, as opposed to the last one where we had actual voting equipment, as opposed to laptops and actual tabulator machines, which we aren't doing this year at all. It's all through in the cloud voting system that can be accessed that way. The good thing about that, it is more accessible. You can use your own device, and you have your device already set to what you need. So, which is a good thing for us this year. So. Cheryl, do you want me to read the whole thing out, or?
No.
I don't think you need to, but
No.
Catherine, what do you think?
No, I don't think so.
So how do you want me to? I can forward this for everybody to go through it, and then any comments and whatnot, then we can do it that way.
I would like to see, if you wouldn't mind forwarding it to me, I would like to review it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Yes, if we can all get copies of it.
Yeah.
In the meantime, if anyone has any specific questions, perhaps we can. Heather does.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'll be fully transparent. I'm a little bit concerned about going to fully online cloud voting, just as from a political science perspective, but that's entirely separate. That's the decision that's been made here. My question is, in terms of the PIN system, how will that PIN system work for someone who is maybe has vision impairments, or may have some other challenge in accessing that PIN to use for themselves?
Megan, did you want to answer?
Hi, and thank you for the question. So there would be two options I would see with that happening. So certainly that voter, if they needed assistance, could come into the voter assistance center as well. And we could, all election officials take an oath of secrecy, and to maintain the secrecy of that voter. So we could certainly assist those voters as well. Some voters opt to have a friend or a trusted family member assist them with entering that into the system. So that's what I would recommend.
So there's no option for the PIN to be in Braille as well as in text, if that was would such a thing be an option, I guess? Because yes, that still provides access, but it's not equal access at that point if someone has to find someone else to read it for them or whatever.
But if someone is a registered voter on the voters list and they indicate that they're vision impaired, that they're blind, and they want that all their information for the election to be provided to them in an auditory capacity, which we've done, then we can do so.
And
so in that case, the PIN would be communicated to them verbally.
So then that communication, like the city would let people know in September or whatever, that if people want it in an auditory capacity, that they need to register for that, or how does that work?
So this is why we have this accessibility plan, right? So that we have all these kind of things worked out in good time. Our messaging, which is supported by the Ontario Human Rights Commission, and which I communicate with our local CNIB and stuff like that all the time, and we communicate it on our website. If people need an alternate format, it's incumbent upon them to tell us what they need. Like, we can't imagine what people might need, and we can't also produce things in multiple formats. We need people to say, I need this. So then what we do is we say, awesome, Mr. Jones, that's what we're going to do for you. So if people, so that's what, so we need to, we have a standard message that's on our website, and that will go out with this, any kind of accessible election media communication. And we've done this for years, just to indicate if you need an alternate format, tell us what that is. Because even people who are vision impaired, might want something different than what we've done in the past. So they need to talk us through that. And part of the requirement is consultation. So that's kind of how we get around that. So it's not really answering your question, Heather, I apologize, but there's mechanisms in place to address should someone feel that they need
That
that.
answers it. There's going to be messaging going out ahead of time. People will be told that if they need alternative options to contact, and then one of the alternative options would be an auditory option for them.
Potentially, if they
could still vote independently in their own homes with their own devices without having to have a second person. That was what I was
100%.
I think that's critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Like independence is always the goal, always.
We are definitely still in like the early planning stages, and all the messaging and whatnot. So definitely, if you have suggestions for us, and we are still working with the vendor as well for the telephone and internet systems. And the voting cards, we're still in the beginning stages of getting all that together. So definitely, if you have any suggestions or anything for us, if you can provide them to myself or Tammy, and we can definitely take those answers and questions back.
One question on that, Tara. So to Heather's point, we're not going to mail something out to someone in Braille unless they ask us for that. But could we email it to someone?
I can take that question and ask. Unfortunately, I'm not aware of that right now, but I can definitely take that question back to our
because just the idea of, like you mentioned, one of the beauties of this system is that people can use their own technology. So similarly, if someone is receiving that information, the same information they would receive by mail, if they're receiving that by email, like obviously they'd have to call, they'd have to tell us, but if they're receiving it by email, then to Heather's point, they've got their technology, and then their technology, their screen readers can read their PIN independent for them, versus involving anybody, or even like the only call for accommodation would be to call us and say, hey, I need you to email this to me instead of mail it to me.
Right. Definitely. If you're having any type of issues, we can then we can identify it, and we want to give every voter the absolutely best opportunity to have a good voter turnout this year, and everybody to have their say.
Great. Any other questions? This looks good. We look forward to getting that information, and we'll go through it.
I'll send it right now, and definitely, if you can get it back to us, we'd appreciate it. And,
okay, thank you so much,
and successful election.
Yeah, and thank you two for hanging around. That last conversation was quite fulsome. So
I know I wanted to jump in a little bit, and I'm like, no.
Well, we appreciate the extra time you've taken, so thank you very much. And this we have no referred items or anything, so this concludes our meeting. Yes, and
thank you so much, everybody, for hanging around
until September. Yeah, and enjoy the summer. Have a healthy and happy supper. Oh, you tell what I'm thinking. I'm hungry.
But when is Councillor Thompson taking us for ice cream?
We'll have to work that. Yeah, we'll have to work that out. We'll have to wait and see when the motion goes through to council, and then we'll bug on.
I told you I would buy you ice cream whether it goes or not. So you guys make it Saturday after 1 o'clock in the summer, and I'll meet you all downtown to buy ice cream.
Fabulous. Ooh, that sounds like a plan. All right.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody, and we'll see you in September.
Take care. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.